Lesson 39. What's worth worrying about? That is an increasingly important question in our culture. Over the last 2 decades, anxiety disorders have risen by 1,200%. That is a pandemic of epic proportions. It's affecting even our youngest children in elementary school age. It's unprecedented. It's affecting now 1 in 5 adults this year will suffer from an anxiety disorder. And if that's you, I'm pleading with you, get the help you need. If you need to go see a counselor to talk through some issues, please do that for your sake and for the sake of your loved ones around you. If you need to see a physician to get medication temporarily, there's no shame in that. And there may be harm to you and others if you don't. Get the help you need. But the base of all anxiety disorders is a spiritual problem of priorities. And that's what we want to talk about in this lesson. It's the short story about Mary and Martha. Luke tells it, is the only one that tells it. But it has massive meaning for all of it. It begins in Luke chapter 10, verse 38. Jesus is coming from the temple, from really a series of discussions and debates. Now, we don't read about those in Luke. You have to piece it together chronologically with John. But it's kind of the backdrop of the story that there's been high tension for weeks. Jesus has been confronted. They've attempted to arrest him. They've attempted to kill him. And my suspicion is that because Jesus is in Jerusalem, near Bethany, Mary and Martha have heard of a little hullabaloo going on and keep inviting Jesus, come to our house. We want you to have some R&R. Come spend some time with us. And after the feast, he does. Verse 38. Now, as they were on their way, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. And that's a problem. You see, women were not allowed to sit at a rabbi's feet to learn. In fact, the centuries before and centuries after Jesus, there is no example of it that I'm aware of except for Jesus. And in Luke chapter 8, verses 1 through 3, there are multiple women mentioned. This Mary isn't even one of them at that point. But she sits at Jesus' feet, and her sister, I'm guessing the older sister, the responsible sister, continues the preparations. And you can only imagine the flurry of activity prior to Jesus arriving with 12 apostles. That's a lot of people to host. And she is like not just Martha, she's a Martha Stewart of the ancient world. She's got everything set right, and the menu is in order, and the table settings are set. And now when Jesus arrived, her irresponsible sister just abandons her. That's actually the word that Martha will use to describe it. Verse 40. Martha was distracted with much serving, as she went up to him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me, abandoned me, to serve alone? Tell her to help me. Seems reasonable, right? After all, that's the responsible thing to do. She is serving. Isn't serving a high priority for Jesus? Jesus' response is classic and totally unexpected. And it may be something that you need to learn as well. Because a lot of us are Marthas. We do, rather than experiencing Jesus. But the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you're anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her. Martha has a problem that, frankly, most of us have. She has Jesus in her living room, and she prioritizes dishes and menus. What a mistake. We also have access to Jesus through the Holy Spirit, through the scriptures, through the fellowship of the local church. We have access to Jesus, but we're so spun up over all these other things that pale in importance to being with Jesus. The word that Jesus used for anxious is merimnao. It's used 19 times throughout the New Testament. 9 of those people are concerned about resources for survival, food, clothing, housing. 2 of those people are worried about their reputation. How am I going to be seen? I think that's probably what Martha was most concerned about, is her reputation, not really actually the dishes. At least, maybe I'm psychoanalyzing myself into the story, but that's what concerns me. How will I be seen? How will I be received and remembered? Only 4 of the times, of the 19 times Maranatha is used in the New Testament, only 4 of the times is it a concern for a relationship with another person. And Jesus says that's where our concern should be. A concern for the people around us. Not just the acts of service that we're doing to look good in front of other people. We have a pandemic of anxiety on our hands. What is the antidote? Paul will give it in Philippians chapter 4, verse 6. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. Now, again, if you need a counselor, if you need medication, there's no shame in that. Get the help you need to be healthy, especially for the people around you. But all of us are going to deal with anxiety, and all of us, the starting point is not medication, it's not counseling. It is a relationship with Jesus Christ, which we have access to, Paul says, through prayer and through gratitude. Notice it's not just prayer, and he uses several words for prayer in Philippians 4:6. It is also prayer with gratitude. Because the more grateful you are, the more aware you become of the presence of Jesus. And that is the antidote to anxiety.